Young and the Restless, Victor's downfall. Why it's time. The first and main reason that Victor needs to be taken down is this latest vendetta against Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, which is ridiculous. For more than a year now, Victor has been totally furious with Jack. Victor is always ranting that Jack put Nikki Newman's, Melody Thomas Scott, life at risk, which is ludicrous. Jack did not put Nikki's life at risk at all. In fact, Jack risked his own life and his own sobriety to save Nikki when she was spinning out of control. Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, was even upset that he risked his life for Nikki. And she acknowledges that that's what it was. Nobody agrees with Victor's ridiculous accusations about Jack, not one Newman, especially not Nikki. Literally, nobody else in Genoa City except Victor thinks this. He has manufactured a reason to hate Jack. It's like he pulled this lame reason out of thin air. If we're trying to justify this story-wise, Victor was salty because Jack saved Nikki when Victor could not. Victor was actually enabling Nikki to get drunk at home because he kept booze in the house, knowing she was off the wagon. Victor refused to send Nikki to rehab after Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk, pushed her off the wagon. And everybody knew that Nikki needed to go, but Victor kept saying no. Even all of Victor's kids have said he's wrong for hating Jack based on this flimsy reason. If we're going to dig into the character psychology, Victor is angry at himself, not that he would admit it. Honestly, though, we think it's just bad writing on Young and the Restless. Billy Abbott, another target of Victor's endless schemes. The second reason that fans are really tired of Victor and his never-ending vendetta is him being back again, destroying Billy Abbott's, Jason Thompson, life. It's worse now that Victor wants to use Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, to help destroy Billy, which is absolute insanity because Billy is the father of two of Victoria Newman's, Amelia Heinley, children, Victor's grandchildren. Yet Victor always goes after Billy. He's been doing it forever, even when Billy hasn't done anything to warrant it. Victoria hates this about her father, but he won't stop. Billy was pretty much minding his own business, running Chancellor. And Victor just decided to be a jerk and take it away because he could. He did a lot of lying, scheming, and dirty things to steal that out from under Billy. Of course, Victor will never be happy if Billy has anything good in his life. We're not necessarily Team Billy. We're not huge fans of this version of the character. We loved the Billy Miller version of him, but this version we find problematic. At the same time, we're not Team Victor right now at all, so we'll take Billy over Victor at the moment. While we don't think Billy can take Victor down on his own, we do think Kane could help Billy do it. Victor needs to be put in his place on Young and the Restless. Victor's destructive interference in his family's lives. Another reason Victor needs a slap from karma is because he is always messing up his family's lives, thinking he knows better about everything. Victor was out there trying to break his granddaughter's heart. Poor Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron. She loves Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, and was perfectly happy, but because Kyle is Jack's son, Victor decided Claire shouldn't be with him. So Victor hired Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, to break them up in the dirtiest way. The thing with Claire was like the other schemes that Victor has done in the past, with Victoria messing with her love life. And Victor messed with Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Adam Newman's Mark Grossman lives extensively, all while saying he knew better. Nikki is constantly having to defend and enable Victor on Young and the Restless. We think Nikki and the kids should be the ones to put Victor in check, to kick him out of the CEO's seat at Newman, make him retire, and let the kids inherit. But of course they won't do it. The negative influence of Victor Newman on Genoa City. The next reason that Victor needs to be taken down is just what a bad influence he is on so many people. What's crazy is, aside from him, the rest of the Newmans are getting along fine. Adam has finally been accepted by his siblings. He's no longer the rejected black sheep with all that anger. He and Nick are getting along great. And miraculously, Adam has actually formed a genuine bond with Victoria. Claire is integrated into the family. She's close to everybody. All the kids are happy. Everything would be good if not for Victor being a vengeful jerk. The kids could be running Newman Enterprises very happily, with no revenge plots or scheming. Imagine the Newmans just chill and happy. Arguably, that's not very soapy, but Victor is the one stressing everybody out and driving all this drama, but not in a good way, not in a well-written way. Nick and Adam could absolutely handle Kane's threat without Victor. We think all the kids would function really well without Victor's interference. He needs to step off. He's out of control on Young and the Restless. He's also a bad influence on Michael Baldwin, Christian Jules LeBlanc, by the way, and pretty much anybody he comes into contact with. Young and the Restless, fan frustration. The final reason that Victor needs to be thrown off his high horse is because of the fans. Most people we see on soap social media, a great percentage of them, are sick and tired of the way that Victor is acting. It's down to terrible writing because what's going on makes no sense. His motive for the latest vendetta is sloppy. It just doesn't make sense. This is another character that Josh Griffith has ruined for Young and the Restless. Of course, Victor has been a villain in the past, which is totally fine if it's well written. One really villainous plot that we think back on that was very well written, even though it was just psychotic, was the whole thing with Jack and Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, when Victor brought Marco in after kidnapping Jack and put Marco in his place. And Phyllis had a stranger in her bed and didn't know it. That was all terrible behavior, Victor doing these awful things, but the writing was good. And the motivations were twisted but understandable. And there was a flow of logic. In this case, to us, it's bad writing illogical. And fans are frustrated. In terms of who takes down Victor and gives him that karmic slap, we do think Kane may be a good choice. Young and the Restless. The future of Victor Newman's character. Even though his own family should do it, they won't. But Kane has tons of resources. And he's willing to play dirty. So, for a lot of reasons, many that we listed, and more that you can probably think of, Victor really needs to get a comeuppance at the hands of the new guy who is back in town. Even if Kane does take Victor down, it won't last. The great Victor will never be completely destroyed. And we don't want that. But he needs a big, fat reality check, knocked down about 5 pegs, so maybe he won't be a full-on jerk all the time. Kane might be the one to do it. Something needs to change with Victor. It's no fun to watch him anymore, because you can't justify his behavior. And so it's really cringy and it's turning a lot of fans off. It's a shame because Victor remains a fan-favorite character, even when he's dark and villainous, as long as the writing is good. We've been hoping something is going to change now that Jill Farron Phelps is back on the producing team. But so far, we haven't seen it.
For decades,
Victor Newman has been the kingpin of Genoa City, a titan whose power, wealth, and manipulative genius seemed untouchable. From corporate takeovers to personal betrayals, Victor has always played the game with a masterful hand, leaving everyone around him either in awe or in ruin. But lately, the winds of change have been stirring, and one question is echoing through the hallowed halls of Newman Enterprises and the Newman Mansion alike. Is it finally time for Victor's downfall? The answer, perhaps surprisingly, is yes. Victor's empire has been built on fear, secrets, and control, but those very foundations are showing cracks. Over the past several months, viewers have witnessed a Victor who is no longer the untouchable powerhouse he once was. Health scares, legal entanglements, and a series of personal betrayals have begun to chip away at the facade of invincibility that Victor has carefully cultivated. One of the most significant catalysts for Victor's potential downfall is his relationships, or more accurately, his inability to maintain healthy ones. His children, Adam, Victoria, and Nicholas, have been consistently caught in the crossfire of Victor's manipulations, and their patience is wearing thin. Adam's complicated history with Victor is a prime example. Once the prodigal son, Adam has grown increasingly independent and bold, no longer willing to let Victor's influence dictate his every move. Whether it's exposing corporate secrets, challenging family decisions, or even defying Victor in matters of the heart, Adam represents a generation that refuses to bow blindly to the Newman patriarch. Victoria, too, has evolved from a dutiful daughter into a force to be reckoned with. She's no longer content to live in Victor's shadow, whether at Newman Enterprises or in personal relationships. Her ambition and moral compass now stand in direct opposition to Victor's ruthless methods, and this tension is reaching a breaking point. It's clear that Victor's old tactics, intimidation, manipulation, and even love as a weapon, are becoming less effective with his children. They see him not as an untouchable patriarch, but as a man who is deeply flawed, and in today's Genoa City, flaws are vulnerabilities. Another factor accelerating Victor's possible downfall is the changing landscape of power within Newman Enterprises itself. Over the years, Victor has relied on fear to keep his board members and executives in line. But recent power shifts have shown that loyalty to Victor is conditional. New alliances are forming behind his back, and ambitious figures like Abby, Devon, and even Sharon are beginning to challenge his dominance in ways that could have serious consequences. Victor's traditional methods of coercion and intimidation are starting to falter in a modern business world where strategy and ethics often outweigh sheer force of will. Victor's personal life is also unraveling in dramatic fashion. His on-again, off-again relationships, particularly with Nikki, are fraught with tension, betrayal, and heartbreak. Nikki, once the unwavering pillar of Victor's life, is increasingly questioning whether she should continue to stand by him. Their love story, while iconic, is showing signs of age and strain. As Victor's personal vulnerabilities become more public, it diminishes the aura of invincibility that has always been his most powerful tool. But perhaps the most compelling reason why Victor's downfall may finally be inevitable is the accumulation of enemies. Over the years, Victor has made countless individuals suffer to protect his empire or satisfy his ego. From family members to business rivals, his list of adversaries is long, and unlike before, many of them now have both the means and motivation to strike back. Adam, Nick, and Victoria are only the beginning. Former allies like Phyllis, Sharon, and even Jack Abbott could become wild cards in a game they have long been forced to play against Victor. Each of these players holds pieces of the puzzle that could dismantle his empire, and Victor's hubris may prevent him from seeing the storm coming until it's too late. Victor's public image, once untouchable, is also starting to crumble. In the age of social media, news travels fast and secrets rarely stay buried. Every scandal, betrayal, and cover-up now carries the risk of instant exposure. Audiences have watched as other longtime soap icons struggle to maintain control in an era where information is instantaneous, and Victor is no exception. His legendary ability to manipulate narratives is less effective when transparency is a cultural expectation rather than a rarity. It's also worth noting that Victor's personality itself is a double-edged sword. His confidence, decisiveness, and charisma made him an indomitable force for decades. But these same traits have cultivated arrogance and rigidity. Victor often assumes he knows what's best, dismissing counsel or warning signs from even his most loyal allies. This overconfidence is precisely the kind of flaw that sets up a classic downfall, especially in a world as unpredictable as Genoa City. Moreover, Victor's moral code, or lack thereof, is catching up to him. His insistence on winning at all costs, even when it means sacrificing family, friends, or ethical principles, has sown seeds of resentment that now threaten to bloom. In drama-filled soap operas like Young and the Restless, every action carries consequences, and Victor has accumulated enough questionable choices to create a domino effect of crises. Legal battles, personal vendettas, and betrayals all converge into a perfect storm that even Victor Newman might struggle to weather. And yet, there's something almost poetic about the potential downfall of Victor Newman. For decades, he has been the embodiment of power, cunning, and invincibility. Watching him confront the consequences of his actions, face the vulnerability he has always avoided, and navigate a world where he is no longer the unquestioned king offers viewers a compelling narrative arc. His possible decline is not just a story of loss. It's a chance for new dynamics, fresh alliances, and character growth for everyone who has ever lived in Victor's shadow. In conclusion, the time for Victor Newman's downfall may finally be upon us. Health issues, shifting loyalties, family rebellion, and a landscape of rising adversaries all point toward a reckoning. For viewers, this is both thrilling and inevitable. Victor has always been a character who thrives on tension, power struggles, and high-stakes drama, but the very traits that made him unstoppable may also be his undoing. The empire he built on fear and dominance is vulnerable, his family no longer blindly loyal, and his enemies smarter and more motivated than ever. For a man who has controlled Genoa City for decades, the notion of losing everything may be unthinkable. But for fans of The Young and the Restless, it's a storyline that promises drama, heartbreak, and perhaps the ultimate payoff, seeing Victor Newman finally face the consequences of his own choices. After all, every king must one day answer for the throne he occupies, and Genoa City has never been more ready. The downfall of Victor Newman is no longer just a possibility. It's a story waiting to happen, and viewers are on the edge of their seats, eagerly anticipating the moment when the Titan finally falls. In the world of Genoa City, one thing is crystal clear. Power is everything, and in the Abbott-Newman rivalry, no one has perfected the art of manipulation quite like Victor Newman. Over decades, Victor has built his empire with an iron fist, and when it comes to controlling those around him, no one, not even family, escapes unscathed. This week, it seems that Billy Abbott has once again found himself in the crosshairs of Victor's relentless scheming. Billy Abbott, the ever-complex son of John Abbott, has always walked a precarious line between his own ambitions and the expectations of those around him. He's a man driven by loyalty, love, and occasionally reckless impulses. But even Billy's most calculated moves often crumble under the weight of Victor Newman's interference. And right now, it seems that Victor has set his sights squarely on the younger Abbott, determined to bend him, or break him, to fit his ever-expanding agenda. The latest conflict began innocuously enough. Billy, in his typical fashion, was trying to secure a legitimate deal for Abbott Enterprises. A new tech partnership promised not only to revitalize the company's image, but also to stake a claim in the lucrative digital market, a move that could finally establish Billy as a serious player in Genoa City's business landscape. However, Victor, never one to let anyone else shine, saw this as a direct threat. To Victor, Billy's success wasn't just about business, it was personal. The idea of a Newman rival making a name for himself without Victor's blessing was unthinkable. Victor's first move was subtle, almost elegant in its cruelty. He approached Billy under the guise of mentorship, offering friendly advice and hints of insider knowledge. Victor's reputation as a business savant made him appear trustworthy, and Billy, ever eager to prove himself, was initially receptive. But Victor's real goal was never mentorship, it was manipulation. By feeding Billy selective information and orchestrating misleading leads, Victor set up his own chessboard, placing Billy's every move under scrutiny and ensuring that any misstep would play perfectly into Victor's hands. The second phase of Victor's scheme was more personal. Knowing Billy's deep emotional connection to his family, especially his mother, Jill, and his half-sister, Abby, Victor targeted their vulnerabilities. He subtly sowed seeds of doubt and tension, exploiting every perceived slight and whispering insinuations that questioned Billy's judgment. Suddenly, Billy found himself embroiled in conflicts not just at work, but within the very heart of his family. Conversations with Jill, once straightforward, now felt like tests. Interactions with Abby were tinged with unspoken accusations. Victor's genius lay in his ability to make Billy question his instincts without ever directly confronting him. It was psychological warfare in its most insidious form. Of course, Billy is no stranger to adversity. His history with addiction, failed relationships, and corporate betrayals has hardened him in ways many of Victor's other targets have never had to endure. Yet, even the strongest players can falter when the game is rigged from the start. Victor's manipulations are not about immediate victories, they're about long-term dominance. By keeping Billy on the defensive, Victor ensures that the Abbott scion's every decision is shadowed by uncertainty, leaving him vulnerable to miscalculations that can be exploited for years to come. The tension escalated this week when Victor allegedly leaked sensitive information about the Abbott Enterprises tech deal to an unscrupulous competitor. The timing couldn't have been worse. Just as Billy was preparing to finalize the contract, whispers of corporate espionage reached the media. Questions were raised, credibility was questioned, and Billy's leadership was put under a microscope. While the full extent of the fallout remains unclear, insiders suggest that Victor is quietly relishing the chaos, watching with a satisfied smirk as Billy scrambles to mitigate the damage. But Victor's schemes aren't purely about business leverage. At their core, they're about control. Victor Newman doesn't simply want to win. He wants to dictate the rules entirely, reshaping Genoa City to suit his vision. For Billy, this means every attempt at independence, every bid for respect, is met with calculated interference. From leveraging old mistakes to exploiting alliances, Victor ensures that Billy's path is never smooth. It's a dynamic that's as frustrating as it is familiar. Just when Billy thinks he's gaining traction, a hidden hand shifts the ground beneath him. Interestingly, the psychological toll on Billy has begun to manifest in subtle ways. Friends and allies have noticed his increasing irritability, the way he second-guesses decisions that once came naturally. There's a growing tension in his interactions, a defensiveness born not just of professional pressure, but of constant surveillance and manipulation. In a sense, Victor is eroding not only Billy's position but his confidence, a masterstroke in a game where perception is everything. Yet, despite the odds, Billy isn't without resources. He has an acute business mind, a resilient spirit, and allies like Phyllis, who have learned over time how to navigate Victor's treacherous waters. The question is whether these strengths will be enough to withstand Victor's latest offensive. Billy's history suggests that he thrives under pressure, often finding creative solutions when others would crumble. But Victor's schemes are no ordinary obstacles. They are meticulously crafted traps designed to exploit even the most resilient players. One of the most compelling aspects of this conflict is the emotional resonance it brings to the storyline. Fans have long sympathized with Billy, not merely as a business executive, but as a son, brother, and man constantly fighting to prove his worth in a world dominated by larger-than-life personalities like Victor Newman. The tension between Billy's desire for autonomy and Victor's relentless control provides a narrative rich in drama, suspense, and emotional stakes. Every decision Billy makes now carries weight, and viewers are left questioning who will ultimately emerge victorious, or whether Victor will succeed in bending another Abbott to his will. In the coming weeks, the landscape promises to become even more perilous. Billy will have to navigate corporate betrayals, familial tensions, and Victor's manipulations simultaneously, all while safeguarding his own integrity and aspirations. Allies will be tested, loyalties will be questioned, and every misstep could carry serious consequences. For fans of The Young and the Restless, it's a storyline that exemplifies the high-stakes drama the series does best, where ambition, loyalty, and cunning collide in the glittering, cutthroat world of Genoa City. Ultimately, Billy Abbott's current predicament serves as a powerful reminder of Victor Newman's enduring influence and the dangers of underestimating him. While Billy has faced challenges before, the current convergence of business and personal pressures may prove to be one of his most formidable trials yet. Fans will be watching closely, rooting for Billy's resilience and waiting with bated breath to see whether he can finally break free from Victor's shadow, or if he will become yet another pawn in the Newman patriarch's endless quest for dominance. A name that commands respect, fear, and for some, resentment. In Genoa City, he is both patriarch and power player, the unshakable force behind Newman Enterprises. But beneath the empire and the boardroom battles lies a man whose presence, influence, and choices ripple through his family's lives with a force that is as destructive as it is magnetic. Victor doesn't just interfere. He orchestrates, manipulates, and at times destroys, often under the guise of protecting the Newman legacy. Yet, the fallout is inevitable: fractured relationships, mistrust, and emotional chaos that his children, spouses, and even extended family must navigate. At the heart of Victor's interference is control. He has always believed that he knows what is best for those around him, especially his children, Victoria, Nicholas, and Adam. But his version of guidance often masquerades as manipulation. Take Victoria, for instance. Victor's desire to shield her from heartbreak and business pitfalls is a double-edged sword. When Victoria attempts to assert independence, Victor's reactions range from subtle undermining to outright interference, often leaving her questioning her own decisions. His inability to relinquish control creates tension that echoes through her personal life, especially in her relationships. Any suitor or business partner must pass the Newman patriarch's scrutiny, and many falter under his shadow, leaving Victoria trapped in a cycle of rebellion and compromise. Nicholas Newman's life is perhaps the most visibly marred by Victor's interference. Nick, perpetually caught between loyalty to his father and his own moral compass, often finds himself in untenable situations. Victor's insistence on steering Nick's decisions, whether in business or personal matters, has led to heartbreak after heartbreak. Nick's marriages, friendships, and even business dealings are often contaminated by Victor's interventions. The classic example: when Victor manipulates situations to protect or punish, he inadvertently sows discord, leading to betrayals, misunderstandings, and sometimes outright catastrophes. The irony is palpable. In his bid to protect, he often destabilizes, and in his bid to preserve the Newman legacy, he fractures the very foundation it rests upon. Adam Newman, the black sheep, bears the brunt of Victor's most destructive interference. Victor's favoritism, or lack thereof, toward Adam has shaped much of the younger Newman's darker tendencies. When Adam seeks approval or a chance to prove himself, Victor's rigid standards and moralistic judgments drive him into secrecy, deception, and ultimately betrayal. Victor's interventions, both overt and subtle, create a pressure cooker environment. Adam's schemes, sometimes destructive, often stem from a desire to reclaim a piece of the fatherly validation that Victor refuses to fully grant. In essence, Victor's interference fuels the very chaos he pretends to control, particularly in Adam's tumultuous love affairs and power plays within Newman Enterprises. Victor's impact extends beyond his children. His spouses, past and present, have endured the reverberations of his interference. Nikki Newman, long his partner and confidant, has walked a fine line between love and autonomy, constantly balancing her desires with Victor's expectations. Their marriage, while passionate, is riddled with instances where Victor's need for control intrudes upon Nikki's sense of self. He exerts influence over her friendships, her career moves, and even her emotional responses, creating cracks that Nikki must constantly mend. Each time Victor steps in for her protection, he risks alienating her, turning love into subtle imprisonment. Even grandchildren are not immune. Victor's interference in Nick's and Victoria's lives inevitably spills over to the next generation. Decisions made under Victor's shadow, from business arrangements to romantic entanglements, impact the young Newman's sense of stability and self-worth. The Newman family tree, ostensibly a testament to power and influence, also carries scars of emotional turbulence, misunderstanding, and fractured trust. Victor's legacy is therefore a paradox. An empire built on ambition, yet a family often teetering on the brink of implosion. The methods Victor employs are multifaceted. Sometimes his interference is overt: boardroom pressure, business takeovers, or public humiliation of perceived rivals. Other times it is subtle: whispered advice disguised as wisdom, manipulation of circumstances to influence decisions, or playing family members against one another. Victor's genius lies in his ability to present interference as guidance, love, or necessity. But regardless of intention, the impact remains the same. His family must constantly navigate a minefield where affection and authority are indistinguishable, leaving them perpetually off balance. Yet, to understand Victor's destructive interference fully, one must consider his motivations. He is not purely cruel. He acts out of a complex combination of love, fear, and legacy obsession. Victor fears loss of family, empire, and control. This fear drives him to micromanage situations, often with disastrous results. He believes that only through his intervention can the Newman family survive and thrive. Unfortunately, his interventions frequently exacerbate the very problems he aims to solve, creating cycles of mistrust and rebellion. Victor's interference also highlights a generational conflict. He embodies a traditional, authoritarian model of patriarchal power, while his children and spouses often seek autonomy, emotional honesty, and agency. The clash between Victor's controlling impulses and his family's desire for independence is a recurring theme in Genoa city drama. Each attempt at rebellion, defiance, or independent decision is met with resistance, confrontation, or subtle sabotage. In effect, Victor is both the stabilizing force and the destabilizer, the anchor and the storm, in the lives he professes to protect. The ripple effect of Victor's interference is profound. Relationships are strained, alliances are fragile, and trust is perpetually tentative. The Newman family is simultaneously united and divided by Victor's presence. His interventions, intended to safeguard, often create long-term consequences that reverberate through generations. The tension between loyalty and self-determination is ever present, ensuring that Victor's family lives are never quiet, predictable, or simple. Ultimately, Victor Newman's destructive interference is a study in complexity. It is a blend of love, fear, ambition, and control, resulting in a family ecosystem that is simultaneously thriving and fractured. His influence is undeniable. He shapes destinies, molds personalities, and drives both triumphs and tragedies. But for all his power, Victor cannot entirely control the chaos he unleashes. The Newman family remains, at its core, a testament to the paradoxical nature of his influence. The very man who builds and protects the empire is also the one whose interference leaves emotional debris in his wake. In Genoa City, Victor Newman is a force of nature, unyielding, formidable, and undeniably destructive. His interference is both his weapon and his curse, a duality that defines the Newman legacy. The family he seeks to protect is often the family he challenges most, and the impact of his actions will echo for years to come, ensuring that life in the Newman household is never simple, never easy, and always filled with high-stakes drama.